I went book shopping many times. Hello everyone, welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Kris, and today's video is a book haul. You can probably see if I stand here, there is more books behind me that are not in this haul, and that is because this one is already large enough for a single video. So since we've moved into the house, I've had packages at least 2 to 3 times a week with books. In fact, Rachel's just gone to the post office because I'm working today and I'm on a lunch break to go and pick up another book, which has arrived, but was too chunky to fit in a letterbox, so they took it to the post office. I have been a bit wild, and there's a few reasons for this. One is I'm gearing up for a low buy year, which I'll talk about in a later video. So I'll be doing this book haul, and then I'll probably be doing one more book haul, and then one at the very end of the year with anything that I pick up during the low buy year. But this is a big one, next one will be a big one, and then it should calm down. I've done some secondhand book shopping. A friend of mine bought some broken binding stuff and Kickstarters from Brisbane when he came up, which was fantastic. I've bought my own broken binding books that have arrived. I have bought series continuations that I want to start next year or potentially do like a read the first chapter and decide what I'm reading. And I've done some secondhand book shopping. So not all of these are pretty, but they are books that I'm very much interested in and want to read. So I'm going to be starting, I think, with the secondhand stuff. I probably don't have it all here, but it could be in that pile. There's 4 piles of books that you can't see just off the camera that will be going through today. So let's just get started because there's so much. The first thing that I bought, these are in no order, is Rebel Fae. This is by Barb and JC Hendy. Sorry about the ring light there. This is book five in the Saga of the Noble Dead. I think this is a 10 to 14 book series. I'm not sure. I have read books 1 and 2. I've read book 1 many times, I think up to 3 or 4 for someone who doesn't reread. And I want to read the whole series one day. So I found book 5 in a secondhand bookstore, and it was the book that I'm up to in terms of collecting. So I picked that one up for a couple of dollars. Similarly to Otherland Book 4 by Tad Williams, I've got 1 to 3, and I happened to find the 4th and final in a secondhand bookstore. I also found War of the Flowers by Tad Williams, which has recently been on a video of mine as where I want to start with this particular author. So I bought both of those. Now, I really enjoyed the Baker's Boy trilogy, or I don't know what the series is called, by J.V. Jones, and I found book 1 of, I think it's the next series for that particular world in a secondhand bookstore, so I went and picked that up. This one's not in too bad a shape, got a bit of a broken spine there, but that's fine, I don't mind that. More people in my life do, but I do not. And I also found Passion by Tony Scialetto. Now, I am very interested in this series. It starts with a book called Blood, which I've owned for a very long time. My friend Mark enjoys this series, and I found book 2. So I thought, well, be rude not to. Pretty good nick as well. Continuing on with the book 2s, I have The Black Lung Captain by Chris Wooding. I have been interested in Chris Wooding for a while. This is probably the series that I'll start. I think it's called The Tales of Kitty J. I've had Retribution Falls for a long time. I've sold book 2. Again, really good shape for a couple of dollars, so I picked that one up. And in the same place, I also found The Splinter King by Mike Brooks. So I will very likely buy the 3rd book of this year before that low buy year starts, because it is a series I would like to get to in 2025, if not later this year. Now, to throw a bit of historical fiction in the mix, I wasn't sure if I was going to continue on with the series after I read Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. Someone, please tell me how to pronounce this guy's name. After, the first book, but I did see the second book. I actually love these editions. They are so beautiful. I would like to get the entire series if I'm going to read it in this edition. I've got a 25th anniversary edition down there of the first book. So I've bought the second one in case I do want to go on. Again, a couple of dollars isn't very much to spend at all. And these secondhand bookstores, I found so many in Perth. This low buy year is going to be very, very difficult. Something else I'm trying to do is to make sure that if I'm reading indie series that I really love, I'm buying some of those books. So this next sort of set is a lot of book 2s of series that I've read. Tend to read these on ebook. The author gets more money. If you buy it off like Kindle, I get more of a return from it. So I tend to buy the ebook. If I love it, I'll go and buy the physical. Sometimes these are also super expensive to get to Australia because shipping and production cost is just not great for people in a little island that just situates at the bottom of the world, depending on what map you're looking at. But I digress. A few of these I've really enjoyed, so I've gone ahead and picked up the physical. The first one is Wistful Ascending by JCM Byrne. This is really cool, such a cool cover. This is Michelle Yeoh meets Taken, and it's just a wild time and a lot of fun. So I really enjoyed that one, so I picked up the physical copy. A couple of book twos that I've picked up is The Sun Prince by L.R. Schultz. I have A King's Radiance. I really enjoyed both book one and book two, so I've picked up the second one. And also Buzzard's Bowl by John Palladino. Such a good series, such a just an unapologetic, crazy, batshit grimdark series. I friggin' loved it, so I picked up the book two. It looks kind of cool, Under the Shark. No, just me. Okay, well. The next thing that I bought the first book for a buddy read, and I ended up liking this a lot more on the second read of this physically, even though I gave it the same score. This is Gunmetal Gods by Samuel Akhtar. So I bought that one, did the buddy read. Really funny that I'm the only one that did the buddy read. Oh no, Jessica M. McMinn did it as well. We haven't talked about it on the channel yet, but I went ahead and got the novella. I think this is 1.5, and I bought the second book. So I think Samuel Akhtar is currently writing book 4, if I'm not mistaken, and that may be coming out this year. So now that it's a bit more fresh in my mind and I enjoyed it on a physical read, I've bought the next book and the novella to try and continue on with that series at some point. The next one I got is book 3 of the Doctrines of Fire by C.L. Jarvis. This is the Chronicles of Earth. I bought book 3. I've pre-ordered book 4. This is a historical fantasy series. It's based with real life people from the 18th century. It's just a breath of fresh air and it's a lot of fun. So I bought that one to continue on. One of my favorite series that I've started and am up to date with over the last couple of years is the Brands of Telgear by M.T. Fontaine. So I bought book 2 marked for the Pyre. I really love this book. I can't wait to reread them. It's definitely a series that I want to reread. I'm hoping book 3 comes out later this year and I get an arc in my hot little hands. That would be fantastic. Another book 3, and probably one of my favorite series that I've read that has completed its first arc. I think there's more stories in this world, but in terms of the first trilogy that's done, this is Chaos Risen by Mark Holloway. This is fantastic. This is such a cool experimental fantasy series. This one had some body horror in it. You can see the tree climbing out of this guy here, which I thought was really fun. I love this book. I still think about it a lot. So what does that tell you? And another book 3 that I have, which is definitely not the end of the series, is The Shadows of Nindira by H.C. Newell. Don't these covers just pop? Isn't that amazing? So those are some indie books that of series that I've liked that I've wanted to continue reading. There's no order to this book haul. There may still be more. Now, a lot of you know that I've been reading the Divine Comedy. Well, I've read Inferno, the first book of the Divine Comedy, with Usman over at Bards and Books, and I read this with Sarah K. Bolstrop as well. I think she read it, I'm not sure. But over on Discord, it was Usman and myself that were reading this one. I really liked the first book. It took me a while to get into, had to use the wiki, not going to lie, and pretend that I'm smart enough to understand everything that happened in there, but I had a good time. Very, very visual for the time that it was in the poem, and there's a lot of horror elements in there, and a 14th century fart joke, if that's what you are looking for. This next one, look, I don't know how I feel about this guy's writing, but I keep gravitating towards it and buying his books. So I bought Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. I've read Mistborn. I've seen that the next book in the Cosmere is this one. So I picked up Warbreaker to potentially continue on with my Cosmere journey because I do have the first 3 books of Stormlight Archive. So I think it goes this one. Someone who knows the Cosmere, correct me if I'm wrong. Then goes Warbreaker, and then it goes the first 2 in Stormlight Archive, and then there's something else, and then there's the third one. So potentially I'll pick that up at some point because Mistborn is still fairly fresh in my brain, even though I read it a couple of years ago. But one of the best endings of a series that I've read. This next one is going to please a few people. I finally got whittled down by Elle over at Elliot Brooks and also Taylor from May Between the Pages. And I just bought the whole series of whatever this series is called by Jen Williams. That is The Ninth Reign, The Bitter Twins, and The Poison Song. So I now have the whole series. There's no excuse for me not to read them. I bought it in one hit and thought, you know what? 2025 is looking pretty good to just read from my shelves, so at least I've got a completed trilogy there that I can read. Not that I don't have other completed trilogies or series that I own and have not started. Don't try and find the logic there because it doesn't exist. Let's start looking at some hardcovers. All right, next up we have some hardcovers. There's Broken Binding, there's Kickstarters, there's one from a secondhand bookstore, another series I want to read next year anyway, it's all here. The first one on the pile is Alien Clay. This book is stunning. I've not read Tchaikovsky before. Look at that. Look at it. So beautiful. This was an impulse buy. I have no idea what this book is about, except I assume mushrooms, because they seem to be on the cover. But beautiful. I'll read this at some point. I need to get over my fear of reading the Broken Binding books that I buy because they're so pretty, and you spend enough money on them. I mean, look, in terms of value for product, insane value for product you get from the Broken Binding. To get them in Australia, sometimes the shipping is as much as the book itself. So there's that. Speaking of Broken Binding, and one I could not pass up is The Iron Crown by L.L. McRae. This is just stunning. Just like the camera's not going to pick up the details in this. It is so beautiful, and I really enjoy the Dragon Spirit series. The fact that this got a Broken Binding treatment is incredible. Absolutely lovely. Had to have it. Was waiting up to get one of those because I knew they were going to sell out. This one came from the US. This is Sister Samurai by Tariana Obi. I ordered this one off the website so I could get it signed. I wasn't going to pass up that opportunity, and again, cost a shitload for both of us to send it and get it to Australia, but I'm so grateful that I do have it. This is not only one of my favorite artworks that I've seen on a fantasy cover, or just in general, it's such a fun novella, so I had to get that one here. A Kickstarter that I've backed is The Crimson Court by Brendan Noble. This has a beautiful blue hardback. You can see there, and there's illustrations throughout the book. I'm so excited for this book. I think I'm reading it next month, or the month that you're seeing this. If you see it in June, I'm filming it in the month of May. Very much looking forward to it. I'm very much looking forward to experiencing the artwork and the story. I've heard great things. Esme, you've really sold me on this one when you watch this video, so that will be happening sooner rather than later. Another Kickstarter I have that finally arrived is Neon Ghosts by Daniel Green. This is another just stunning book. I cannot show you that page because there is body parts on it, but this is the naked hardback. Isn't that so cool? This book is so very pretty. I was skeptical of Neon Ghosts. I read the ebook, I believe, before this went started, or I started the ebook just to see if I wanted to back it, and it's a very cool story. If you like cyberpunk, it's got enough for the genre of urban fantasy and cyberpunk that feels comfortable, but it also takes the story of vampires and chucks it on its head, which I thought was really cool. So I had a great time with Neon Ghosts. It's very pretty, and I'm glad that it's on my bookshelf. One I backed because I wanted the books to match is the third Ranger of the Titan Wilds series by J.D.L. Rosell. Sorry, I got a bit tongue twisted there. Again, these are just absolutely stunning. It's printed on the naked hardback. The artwork in these books are next level and just beautiful. I've not read book 2. I've read book 1, really enjoyed it. I've got book 2 and 3 there to read. Then I have The Red Light. This one came from Brisbane. It got shipped to Brisbane towards the end of last year, and I just wasn't there when it arrived. So I finally have my omnibus edition of Threadlight. This is by Zach Argyle. I'll find some artwork in here. It's just amazing. This book is simply stunning. Got some more artwork in there. The quality of this book is fantastic. I read these on audio. I don't know if I'll read that book physically. The stack there is very dangerous. We should not put any more books on the books that currently exist there. But thrilled that that arrived. Now for some Trad Pub I bought Under the Dome. I hated the edition that I had already, and this was like $5 in a secondhand bookstore. Chunky Beast, bought that one. I'll be reading that at some point in the future. And another series that I would like to read next year is I don't know what the series is called, the Bone Shard series, I don't know. But I bought book 2 and 3 of these because I have the first one in hardback. These weren't super expensive, so I picked up books 2 and 3, and probably another one I'll read in 2025. To finish us off, we've got a couple more indies and an Eric LaRocca book, I think. There's some horror, some indies in here. I bought Daughter of the Beast by E.C. Greaves. This is a series I would really like to start this year. We'll see how we go. My TBR with Spiffno and Spiffbo tends to get blown out of the water once the competition gets announced because, pretty things. And also trying to finish series or just at least continue on with series. But I am looking forward to both that one and also this one, which is Oath of Bones by Ryan G. Beatty. So I picked these both up on series that I want to read this year, so I have them to start. I'm very excited about both of these, so much so I bought physical books of them, whereas I do tend to read mostly on my Kindle, believe it or not, or my phone. Actually, 90% of the time, probably read off my phone. So the physical books are special. They're special, right? I also got the second book in the Indian Lake trilogy by Stephen Graham Jones. This is Don't Fear the Reaper, and I have the third book on order for whenever that comes out. I talked about this one in a wrap-up recently. This is Eric LaRocca, The Trees Grew Because I Bled There. Fantastic short story collection. Just really wonderful. Eric LaRocca's writing is beautiful as it is brutal, and I just think he's so underrated, and they deserve a lot more praise in the horror sphere. So if you haven't read Eric LaRocca yet, it's poetic, it's brutal, it will stab you in your heart, maybe literally. Luckily, it didn't happen to me. Anyway, I moved on. And the last one that I have today is A Woman Built by Man. This is an anthology collection. I bought this because I saw it had a story by Gemma Amor, who I've just recently read. And I thought the premise of this was really cool. These are all stories by female horror authors trying to show that their voices are just as important in the horror genre as men. This one says, A Woman Built by Man is a collage of 21 horror tales that seek to crawl under the skin and deconstruct the many ways women are built up and broken down by a patriarchal society, and the many ways they're finally saying enough. That sold me, and I cannot wait to get to this one. Those were quite a few books that I have purchased over the last few months, or have come from last year, or Kickstarters, or anything like that. So there are many. Now I have to go and put them away, and also log back into work because my lunch break is nearly over. What was your favorite book from the ones that you've seen there today? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like the content, give it one of those, and if you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will, and I will catch you in the next video. Ciao.